So combining like terms, the word combine means to add or subtract. We don't mean multiply or divide. So combining is specifically adding and subtracting. It's specifically adding, but subtracting is adding the opposite. So adding and subtracting. Like terms refers to having the exact same variables raised to the exact same exponents. So x and y would not be same variables. X and x squared would be the same variables, but not with the same exponents, so these are still not like terms. So let's look at our first one, 9x plus 4x. Well, if you have 9x's and I have 4x's, together we have 13x's. So that seems to make some logical sense, right? But really the question we should be asking is, why can we add before we multiply? Remember that 4 right next to the x and 9 right next to the x means multiplication. And our order of operations says that we cannot add until we multiply. Well, factoring is the key. So really what we're doing is, notice that we have a common factor of x. So this is really x times 9 plus x times 4. We take out that common factor, and then we write what's left, 9 plus 4. So now we can, using the order of operations, add the 9 and the 4 because they're in parentheses, and we do the operations in parentheses first. So x times 13 equals 13x. So usually we just go straight for this method. We just logically think, well, 9x's and then 4x's, together there are 13x's. But really we're not allowed to add before we multiply, except for that we can factor. Let's look at the one right below it. 8g minus 5h. Well, if you have 8g's and I want to take away 5h's, can I take away any h's from you? Well, no. And is there any common factor? No. So this one is simplified because there are no common factors. I'm sorry, not no common factors, there are no like terms. Alright then, let's go ahead and look at the negative 6y plus 2y. Now again, using logic, we can say, well, a negative 6y plus 2y is a negative 4y, and you'd be right, but let's look at y. Let's look at y. Let's factor out y. Y times negative 6 plus y times 2. We take out the factor in common and put it in front of the parentheses, and then we're left with negative 6 plus 2. This is why we can add before we multiply. We can do it in the parentheses now, negative 6 plus 2. So y times negative 4, which equals negative 4y, which is what we already knew. But now we know why. Alright, well the next one, 3 minus 7 times the difference of 4a and 1. Well, we want to be a little bit careful here. First of all, we need to distribute. And what we need to distribute is a negative 7. Remember that this minus 7 is really plus a negative 7. So this is 3 minus 7 times 4a minus 7 times negative 1. That's using the distributive property. So 3 minus 28a plus 7, negative 7 times a negative 1. And now we need to use a commutative property. So again, I can turn that into plus a negative 28a, and then commute it, meaning switch it around so that I have 3 plus 7 plus negative 28a. And now I combine the like terms, which is 3 plus 7. Because they have the exact same variables with the exact same exponents, which is no variables or no exponents. So 10 plus negative 28a, or normally we just turn it back into 10 minus 28a. It would also be correct to write this as negative 28a plus 10. Now looking at the one on the left here, the 5 times the sum of 2h and 3 minus 9 times the sum of 2h and 3, they have a common factor. This common factor is an expression, 2h plus 3, but it is a factor. So if we factor that out and put it in front, we want to leave it in the parentheses, 2h plus 3. What I'm left with is 5 minus 9. But that has to go in parentheses too. Now I can not do 2h plus 3, but I can do 5 minus 9. So this turns into 2h plus 3 times negative 4. Well, more commonly we put it back in front, and this is the commutative property of multiplication, to stick the negative 4 back in front. But now when we simplify, it is negative 4 times 2h minus 4, or you can write plus negative 4 times a positive 3. So that is negative 8h minus 12. And so there really weren't any, well, there were like terms. The like terms were clear back here, and we combined them to get negative 4. So finally, the negative 6 times the difference of 4k and 7 plus 2 times the sum of 4k and 7. We may be tempted to think that those are like terms and that we could factor them out, but they are not. This minus and this plus make them different. They're slightly different, but they're significantly different, so they do not count as like terms. In this case, we would simply have to distribute. So negative 6 times 4k minus 6 times negative 7 plus 2 times 4k plus 2 times 7, or a positive 7, gives me negative 24k plus 42 plus 8k plus 14. And then we use the commutative property of addition to switch the 8k and the 42 around. Negative 24k plus 8k plus 42 plus 14. Well, this is where we can go ahead and add the negative 24 to the positive 8 and get negative 16k. Or we could go through that whole process of pulling out the k, doing the 24 plus 8. Over here we can go ahead and add these together. Those are like terms. That's 56. Then doing the k times negative 16 plus 56. And finally writing this as negative 16k plus 56. Or again, we could have ended it a couple of steps earlier, so without using that distributive property to combine the like terms.